Right, do you want to see a couple of pictures from Watersham before we begin? Or should we do that later? What do you think? Mr. Wheezy, thank you for 11 months. I hope you're well. Can I cheer you up, Megafan? I can try, I guess. I don't know how. All right, pictures. Right, we'll do some pictures. I've only got a few, but I can show you some pictures from my flying this week. I actually flew twice this week, which is cool. Mr. Rimrock with a year. Keep up the great work. Just working through the second year uni exams, but trying to watch when I can. Good luck, Rimrock. Thank you for a year, mate. Let me put this on desktop. And then, what's the first picture? So, I've got one. Most of the pictures from, when did I fly? Tuesday I flew, and Wednesday. So most of the pictures from Tuesday I don't have because it was mostly my daughter. I was flying, my daughter had a camera and she was mostly just taking pictures of herself and stuff. But she did actually get this one here, a very short clip where she pointed it out the window. And, rip, hang on. That's a bit loud. Where she sort of pointed it out the window and just got the view. So that's the only footage I have from Tuesday. I'll just play that again. That's the only footage I have from Tuesday. Yeah, vertical video. What are you going to do? Your daughter's got no idea about landscape. All she cares about is Snapchat, right? But it was a nice view, as you can see. Quite pretty. States KC, thank you for 13 months, mate. And Ness SR, welcome back. And then we've got Watersham. So on Wednesday, I flew the 172 to Watersham, which is about, it's literally northeast of Earlscone. It takes 10 minutes to get there when you're flying. And it's a military base, and it's where all the UK's Apaches are based. And it was a day where we all flew in. So there was a bunch of us in our planes. I was flying the 172, which is there. I'm not sure where this guy came from exactly, but there's a whole bunch of planes along this apron here that they told us to park on. And we went in for a day just to see, well, Apaches and that kind of thing. Scanning up, welcome back. Battle him, well, welcome back. Ness has done 2 years. Great to see your stream. Been away for a while, back home, but glad to be back to the stream. Welcome back, Ness. Thank you for 2 years. So yeah, this one here is a Robin from Earlscone. That is Romeo Mike. That's also from Earlscone, but that's a private plane, I believe. That's a 182. Then you've got another Robin. That one I'm not sure about. Then there's a 172. And behind that, there was another plane that turned up, which was one of those kind of bush pilot planes. The one that is in what's that game that's coming out? That's set in the Alaskan kind of territory. Oh, I can't think of the name. Dead Stick. Yeah, the plane out of Dead Stick. There's one of these. You'll see it in a minute. There's one of those actually was parked up down there. You'll see, I've got a little video clip of him in a minute. So the runway is here, and we landed on 2-3, I think it was, and then we backtracked and taxied out, and they told us to just basically line up down here. Meanwhile, Apaches were like coming and going, which is quite funny. You can see them just like, there it is. You see it there? Hang on. Let me go back one. You can just make it out. Welcome to the Nut House. This is not one of ours, I don't think. And that I've never seen before. That's like in a military green colour. Shestagon, welcome to the Nut House. Thank you for your support, Shestagon. What else have we got? So then we got in a minibus and taxied. We were taken in a minibus over to the hangar because they can't have you walking around a military airfield. But as we were like pulling up, there was just Apaches coming in. It was just like, this is cool. This is really cool. So I was in the minibus at this point as we're being driven along as an Apache's like coming into land, which is pretty awesome. It's really weird how they land, actually. This was Wednesday's flight, yes. The DC-88, thank you for 17 months. Thank you, DC. Yeah, it's really weird how they land. They seem to come in like really high on the runway, and they kind of come in at a very steep angle. And they have to land, they have to very, very careful. I was chatting to the pilot for about 15 minutes in the hangar. And because the wheelbase is quite narrow, there's a real danger of these helicopters basically tipping over. And so they have to land forward in a forward direction and preferably into wind. Because if the wind's too strong, it'll blow them sideways. Or if they like touch down and then the wind pushes them and then they try to lift off, the thrust vector they often flip over. So they're really tricky to land, apparently. Was that a video? That's a video. Yeah. That was me trying to get footage of it. You can see there's the tower there, and there's a bunch of them, loads of them around. And then we're being taken over to this hangar over here. Big Time Farmer, thank you for 40 months. Love the streams. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Big Time. Double top 40 months. You love the picture on Instagram with the Apache. Yeah, we'll come to that one in a second, Dutch. How do you sub from mobile? Should be a button for it. So there's actually one up there, you see? And they're all just parked up around here. I was hoping to see a Chinook, but I didn't see one. It was just all Apaches. Does that make them not a helicopter in every sense of the word? What do you mean, Pringle? So there's me. So we got out the bus and I took a quick selfie. It's like, hey. And then we went inside, and this is probably, I took these photos mostly for Mr. Sommy in case he had any clue about what they were. But this is a satellite. They had some of the troops in there, and they were showing us some of their equipment. And this is some of the radio comms equipment that they use. And this is like a satellite dish when they're in the field, so they can make a satellite connection. Because I think these are, I don't know, VHF Ultra. I don't know what they are. So there was a table here where they were showing you like various bits and pieces. This laptop was just amazing. this laptop, and this is what they have. I think it's running like Windows 2000 or something like that. It's actually ancient technology. This thing is, the base is that thick, and you can't see it from this angle, but the lid is like that thick, and it's completely like solid metal. And he said there are no air intakes on this machine because it's built to just work in any conditions. So all of its heat dissipation has to basically go out through the metal chassis. There's just no intake of air whatsoever. UHF GPS-based comms running Windows Me. And the buttons when you press them are like really like, it's designed to take a beating basically. But I don't think you could play Fortnite on it, put it that way. Big Time Farmer, we did Yoshi Fan, 47 months, first time resubbing on iOS, now on Twitch. 37 months of Amazon's money. Thank you very much, Yoshi. And then this is one of the kind of portable, it's a Panasonic touchpad. It's one of their portable tablets they use, which has, it's obviously used when they're out in the fields to know where they are. It's a GPS thing with a map data on it, and who knows what else it does. But they just had some bits of equipment that you could look at. Maybe somebody knows more. I don't know. Don't know about this thing. You won't watch. You probably can't watch Netflix on it. So yeah, there was that bit of kit. And then there's a different angle of that thing. The grid case. What's that? Grid case 159. Look at the spacebar. Like where the spacebar is, you've also got these buttons here in front of the spacebar. That would annoy me when I'm typing. Because I press the space, like my thumb would probably keep hitting this because I'm expecting the space bar to be here. And then the page up and page down is over here. What? Why is insert delete page up and page down not over here? Like even remotely where it should be on the right of the keyboard. Why is it on the bottom left of the keyboard? It's just, that is the most annoying design. But yes, it has the Windows key. And it has a function key where the control key should be. I like how the on-off is guarded as well. That's the trackpad. What, this thing? Yeah, but it's just like, you're going to keep hitting it with your thumb. I would. It's $15.90. Hang on, let's have a look. Grid case 1595. It's made by Grid. Maybe you can find more info on the website. I don't know. Deep Irish, thank you for 25 months. Hands up if you know what they are. You just found the product page for it, Aerospike. The weight of it must be like kilos. Do they but go kaboom? Yes. They're not torpedoes, they're Hellfire missiles. They're the very expensive missiles that sit on the Apache. That laser guided bombs. So they basically like pickle a target, fire one of these things, and it just takes itself to the target. It's like fire and forget kind of missile. They cost a fortune. Yeah, they cost a fortune. So there's actually, the pilot was telling me, there's actually nowhere in the UK that they can practice firing these missiles. The only place they could feasibly go would be way out north of Scotland into the North Sea, but realistically, there's nowhere to fire them there either, because they don't have the firing ranges that they need to be able to test these things. So they do two things. One of them is they fly on simulators, and the second thing they do is they go to the States where they have the firing ranges to test them. But they said that the military spent an awful lot of money on the simulators for the Apache so that they can realistically learn how to operate these missiles, because they can't fire them for real most of the time. So the sim apparently for the Apache is very, very good. To the point where they can train them on it and they can actually fire the real thing. Well, Beaker, he said that in the nose cone it can detect the laser beam, so it can track in on laser. Whether it can do radar as well, don't know. Is it better than Nico 737 Sim? I would imagine it would be. Then there's some Muppet in front of an Apache. And then there's the Apache. I thought I'd get a nice, like, rotor blade shot of the Apache. Now, you can tell this is an actual live in-use Apache, because they actually had to put the little trays down here because it was dripping fuel. So when you got near it, you could smell aviation fuel. But the actual hangar that this is in, we were talking to the mechanic, one of the military kind of mechanic guys who looks after the Apaches. And apparently they store 12 Apaches in these hangars and maintain them. And this yellow thing here, this is the crane arm, because some guy was like, you know, asking the usual questions like, oh, how hard is it to replace the rotor blade on an Apache? What? So the guy was saying, actually, it's surprisingly easy. He was saying, yeah, you just undo a couple of bolts there, pull the pin out, and the whole thing just comes out. And then the next question came out, so could like 2 people fit it? And he said, well, if you had to, when you was out in the field, 2 or 3 men could actually lift that rotor blade up because it's made out of composite material. He said, but in reality, we just use the crane. Like, why are you asking these weird questions, bro? So, yeah, he talked us through that. People ask, honestly, this guy, I feel sorry for this pilot because he just gets asked the weirdest questions, you know, just like the weirdest questions. Anyway, we actually got to pick up one of these things. These are the rocket pods that sit. So on this side of an Apache, you can have, I think it's 4 pods you can have. And each pod contains 19 of these. And I picked this up and it weighs quite a few kilos. This thing's a monster. It's at least 1 meter long. It's pretty tall. Weighs quite a bit. And you get 19 in a pod. And they fire them 5 at a time. And you're like, what? And then the pilot said, yeah, but that's not really the worst of it. He said, you'll generally fire about 5 of these at a time. And he said, what happens is when they get near their target, he said, just in the top end of this thing are these massive steel rods, like thin rods. And he said, just before it hits its target, this casing will break open and then the steel rods will be scattered. He said, so if you imagine you get 5 of these things coming at you and then they open up and scatter these big steel rods, he said, whatever it hits has a really bad day. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can see how that would be a very bad day. So these are pretty serious pods, these things. But I asked them about the, we'll get to the, there's the rounds, by the way. It's kind of hard to get a sense of scale of how big these things are. Hang on. Just going past the smoke shots. Hey, I'm near an Apache. I'll get round to the rounds in a second. So this is the upper section, but what was quite striking about all this is just how, like, ridiculous. Look at the complexity going on here. It is actually nuts. Look at that. And then on here is basically the radar pod, and in here is just tons of sensors and cameras. And the problem with this is that it makes, like, the Apache top heavy. Like, all this weight is up there, and given the narrow kind of wheelbase that it has, it means it really is quite susceptible to tipping over because it is top heavy. A repair nightmare. So, yeah, you got that. Let's go to that. That's the top section. This was the under section. These are the hard points where they put, like, the pods or whatever they're taking. He said they have normal endurance is about 2 hours of flying, which isn't a lot when you think about it. You know, if you imagine they've got to basically be able to get to their target, then you've got the mission time on top, and then get back and then have some continuity on top of it. Like, 2 hours is not a huge amount of fuel. Okay, it goes fairly quickly, but he said what you can do is you can extend that by about another maximum of 90 minutes by adding more fuel pods. He said, so what they normally do is they look at the mission objective, and he said, you know, if your mission objective is to go to an area where you're not expecting to take any return fire and just take out like a single target, he said, you know, we'll pretty much just pack it with just a couple of missiles and fuel pods, and then we've got, you know, maximum range. So they just take whatever they need. You love these helicopters, yeah? But, you know, if they take fuel pods, well, they can't take as many missiles and stuff with them. So a lot of it depends on the mission objective. Who was that from? Thank you very much for the host. I can't quite see who it's from. It's not showing me who that's from. Oh, Balkan. Thank you very much, Balkan. I hope you're well, sir. We're just talking about Apaches, nothing like cars. Thank you, mate. Thank you for the host. Yes, I can see your name down. It's actually in the bottom part of my screen. I was just talking about the a day out to a military airfield that I went to on Wednesday, and we're just talking about Apaches. But I guess you're probably heading to work, so have a good day, sir. Thank you for the host. So yeah, they basically fit out these things. But you can see here, like, the wheelbase is only on the main body of the chopper. So everything hanging off the side, everything up there is just quite happy to tip over. This is the, there's probably some crazy shenanigans going on here, but this is obviously there's two turbine engines, like one on each side. And actually, can I show you the intake? Go back a second. So what do you think that is? Bearing in mind that this is a turbine engine, what do you think that is? Hawkeye is actually the closest. This is actually a 90-degree gearbox. So the turbine shaft turns here, and this is then 90-degree gearboxed into the main rotor, which is kind of cool. Because you automatically assume it's some kind of intake, but it's not, it's a gearbox. So that's obviously exhaust, and there's all kinds of weird shenanigans going on here because this thing is designed to fly with a low kind of profile. So all kinds of noise mufflers and you know, I don't know what tech's in here, but it's trying to make it so that it's not noisy. And then that is the tail wheel, because it is basically a tricycle because there's two wheels at the front, one at the back. So it's a bit like the old tail dragger planes. So it has to come in and land in a forward direction, but there's some crazy shenanigans going on here too. And then the tail rotor, and this, I asked him about this. I asked him about this tail rotor because obviously there's some crazy mechanics going on here, but look, it's got 2 tail rotors. It has 2 tail rotors, and then the really weird thing is, if you look at it, I've got a better photo. I haven't really got a good photo of it from the side. The really weird thing about it is that the blades are not actually offset at 90 degrees. I don't have a proper photo. Basically, they're not like that. Where's my camera? They're not like this. They're actually like that. Yeah. They don't counter rotate. They actually rotate in that kind of fixed direction. And so I was wondering why. Why are they not set at 90 degrees? Yeah. Why are they set at this really weird angle? And he said he's been given various answers over the years. Like, even though he's been to America to their Apache school and he's asked that actual question, the reason is effectively to do with noise reduction. There's something to do with the angle that you put these blades at. Effectively, the noise off this one and the noise off this one at a certain angle will counter the noise. It actually acts as a suppressant to the noise. So there's 2 rotors at an angle specifically to reduce the noise, which is nuts. And then there's some smug guy again, and then that's the side view. You see the gearbox better there, actually. More cameras and sensors off the little wings. We're trying to work out how you get in. You're actually getting on the other side, but these handles here are so that the mechanics can actually get up and service the thing. I was asking the mechanic about the maintenance schedule on this. He said there's parts in there. He said we have to pre-flight the whole helicopter has to be pre-flighted by an engineer before it goes anywhere. He said, and then we've got this like list of things that have, like, some parts will have a 20-hour, some parts will have 50, 100, 200, where they need to be checked. And he said, and then there'll be lots of parts where every so many hours they're just replaced completely. So this thing is like a constant cost. But he said that most of these helicopters that are here today are being traded in. They are trading these choppers in for the newer versions. They've got newer versions of the Apache. So I guess these will end up, some other customer will buy these, but they trade them back in and get the upgraded versions. And they're actually getting even more of them and getting another hangar to put them all into. And I said, blimey, are you expecting a war or something? But yeah, they're buying more of these Apaches. And then this is the beast underneath. You think you'll stick to the 172? Yeah, I might actually buy one of the second-hand ones. So this is the monster gun underneath, and you can see like the chain belt coming down here where it feeds the rounds into it. And there was a picture. Was it back here? Or was it further down? Hang on. There was a picture where he had the panel open. It must be further down here. 1 second. I managed to take a photo just as there it is. Just when he popped the side panel down. And this is where they load the rounds in that come in these they come in these racks, and they basically put a rack into here and slide it in, and it gets fed inside the system. And then it comes down this belt here from the storage up there. Given the size of that round, given the size, and look at that. I mean, my hand's not small, right? My hand's not small. The size of that round. How many do you think it carries? Put it in the garden. Yeah, 1,125. 1,100. That's a lot. I mean, each one of those is a chunky thing. 1,125 rounds it carries. And it can easily, he said, it's got a dial in there They just set how many rounds they can fire one at a time. He said they can fire 20 a second if they want to. 20 a second, he said, and all the rounds are electrically discharged. And he said what that means is that whenever they're doing maintenance on the helicopter, they have to ground themselves. They're not allowed to like have phones and like anything that can create a charge. They're not allowed to, because everything on the aircraft is electrically discharged. But yeah, and I said to him, well, this gun here, because actually when you look at an Apache, there's two guys that fly it, yeah? You've got a guy that sits at the back here and a guy that sits at the front. And the pilot actually sits at the back. So the pilot sits there, and the mission commander and the weapons guy generally sits here. So he will know what the mission objective is. He will operate the weapons and that kind of things. And this guy, the pilot, would generally just focus on the flying. And I said to him, what's your visibility like back here, given that you've got this kind of seat? It's quite high, actually. Is this not in the way? And he said, well, no, because when the helicopter's moving and it tips forward, he said this glass panel, this glass cockpit above you actually becomes your windscreen. So you're actually looking, you know, where you're going. He said the view up here is actually really good. He said the view down here is rubbish. He said, but up there, it's actually a good view. But I said to him, well, on the actual gun then, on this gun down here, I said, who operates the head tracking? Like, who is it bound to, the head tracking on that gun? And he said, well, you can actually track it to either. He said you can bind it to either the pilot or the commander in the front. He said, or you can bind it up to the radar on the top. So the radar picks out a target. You can then bind that gun to that radar target and it'll just swing and lock on to that radar target. He said, or you can bind it to any of the camera sensors. So if a camera, a bit like if you remember the A-10 when we flew that, the camera picks up a target, they can just pickle that target and then lock the gun onto it and it will just track it wherever they go. So they could be like flying in one direction, pull the trigger and shoot something over there, which is just insane. So it's fully equipped for night flying. It's designed to fly in like pretty much all weathers. He said part of the problem is, as a pilot, they have to maintain currency in all kinds of conditions. Like, it's not just a matter of minimum hours flying the Apache every month, but they actually have minimum hours, you know, flying at night, minimum hours flying in no visibility. Like, and they have to go out and get the currency. Otherwise, his boss gets really annoyed because his boss then has to take him up and recertify him. So they're constantly like flying, just keeping the currencies going. And this was the best bit. So I said to him, so how did you end up as an Apache pilot? Like, what is the career progression that you go through to end up as an Apache pilot? And he said, well, he said, everybody's actually different. He said, every Apache pilot has a different pathway into it. He said, for me, he said, I was a tank driver. I was like, wait, what? You drove tanks? And he was like, yeah, back in 2005, I was a tank driver. Right, okay. How does this work? He said, yeah, I drove tanks all the way until about 2014. He said, at that point, I then joined the Air Force and spent a year learning to fly fixed-wing aircraft. This was 2014. Learned to fly a fixed-wing aircraft. So in 2015, he graduated out of that. He said, then they put us on an assessment course where they put them in all kinds of situations, all kinds of aircraft, all kinds of simulators. And then at the end of that, I think it was a 6-month course. At the end of that 6-month course, they then tell them what they're better suited to doing. So you can't choose to be an Apache pilot as such. No, this is the UK military. You can't choose to be an Apache pilot. They tell you that you're better suited to being an Apache pilot than you are something else. So he was told, he said, you're better off in the Apache. So then he went and spent like another 9 months, I think it was, on an Apache training course, went over to America and, you know, did all kinds of training. And then he was signed off on the Apache in 2016, I think it was. And he's been flying them ever since. Yonk Bonnier, thank you for the 250 bits. Hawkeye's an Apache mech. Oh, is he Hawkeye? Oh, nice, dude. So that was interesting, to find a tank driver becoming an Apache pilot. What else was there? So, there was something else I was going to say, and I can't quite remember what it was. This is how you end up with a special set of skills, pretty much. Yeah. So, yeah, there's another smoke shot. I had to get that shot. Like, they'd laid out all these rounds here, missiles and everything next to them. I had to get a shot, like, right from the front. This is so cool. Exosphere Dragon, thank you for 60 months, sir. Thank you very much. 60 months is a long time. 5 years, in fact. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Jonathan Briggs, Paul, I will get to meet you one day, but hey ho, keep up the awesome content. I'm sure you can get along to an event, Jonathan. Oh, Lipo with 30 months. So yeah, that's actually a better shot of the tail rotor. You can actually see the angle on it properly. They are cool, scary machines. They really are. He said that not one has ever been shot down, which is an interesting statistic. I don't know how much 1,125 rounds weigh, because I don't know how heavy each one is. But they're not light. Mo Alcaf, welcome back. So then once we finished with the day, we then had to go back. So what you've got here is one of the Robins holding, waiting for an Apache to land. The Cessna that you saw earlier, the 182, I think it is here. I was just doing the external checks on the aircraft to fly back, and as an Apache was coming in, I was like, grab the camera. There's the button. You see it? That was the one I was on about. The dead stick type plane. US Army. Look at that. How cool is that? How cool would it be to just own one of these things? That's brilliant. That was the aircraft next to me, and this is just the wing of the plane that I'm flying. Thick tires, yeah. But you can see the really weird glide angle they have. And like his aim point is way down here, down the runway. This runway is it's either 2.4 or 2.8 kilometers long. It's a huge runway. It was hilarious when I lined up on it. I felt like that big. Bear in mind, I'm used to Earl's Cone runway. This runway was massive. I just felt like literally I was at 500 feet by the time I got to the end of the runway. No word of a lie. And that was 3 persons on board with almost full fuel tanks. And I was 500 feet up in the air by the time I got to the end of the runway and started making a left turn out. Mr. Catweasel, thank you for 4 years. Happy anniversary. Blimey, more anniversaries here. Brett, welcome back. Versa with 10. Had to unsub for a while, but here we go again. Welcome back, Versa. No problem. Thank you. And this was, I think, the footage that we saw earlier. Or was that a different one? I think it's the same one. No, it's the same one. Yeah. Look, I just downloaded twice somehow. There's me in my plane with my Sky Demon. So, yeah. That is that, as they say. And that was my... Oops, no. That was my day trip to Watersham. You're almost at 59 months, Jack Sims. Thank you. It's the M, I think. It's a 172M. Is that AAC Watersham? I heard it. TA is surprisingly easy to get into that compared to RF Typhoon Chinooks. It's at Watersham without a H on the front, and it's Echo Golf Uniform Whiskey, I think, is the IKO code for Watersham. If you look at a map and look where Stansted is, it's more or less kind of northeast of Stansted, and it's the military airfield. It's out kind of, in the Norfolk Suffolk area, It has quite a big mat around it. So quite often if you're flying around that area, you either have to go around it or generally speaking, you'll just get permission to fly through it. You asked them at Gloucester about you flying it, but they would want you to do a check with them first. Lol. I suspect my school will say the same. You divided there in the sim, then got dual engine failure. Well, you've got a big runway to land on.
Happy anniversary, Nutter.
Are you on your own plan? Do you rent? At the moment, Tommy, I'm renting every time. But this week I've been sending out a bunch of emails to various, like there was a share that came up in a plane yesterday that I've literally emailed them about an hour ago. There's a flying group nearby that owns a bunch of planes, and it's cheaper to fly with them than it is where I am. There's another share up at Duxford. Duxford's a little bit far away to fly. So I'm looking for a share of a plane, really, something that gives me A, cheaper flying, and B, a lot more flexibility to just, if I want to fly out somewhere further away or just stay overnight somewhere, like I want to be able to do that kind of thing rather than just, being on the clock all the time to get the plane back for the next person who's flying it. So I'm basically trying hard at the moment to find a share in a plane, really. You traveled 3 hours to fly yesterday. That's insane. That's actually insane. Oh, you're welcome, Sharpie. Geordie Raccoon, 23 months, nearly 2 years. Keep up the great work. Sneakily watching at work. Shh, I won't tell Geordie. How much does it cost to fly? It depends what you fly, little Jimmy. It really does depend what you fly, and different places charge you different amounts of money. And it depends if you're hiring just from a school where everything's just covered, the insurance, the fuel, as opposed to owning a share in a plane. Like, the costs vary quite a bit. But I found a place that has 4 quite well-maintained Cessna 172s, Jack Sims. 4 Cessna 172s they have, and I can rent it for $135 an hour on the taco. Yeah, on the taco. Not off the blocks, off the taco. Which basically brings the price effectively down to about $125, including VAT wet. Which is, for a non-equity share, that is actually very, very good on a 172. That is very good for a 4-seater plane. Where you live, it's about $87 an hour, including everything, Bagel. Where do you live? Where do you live? Oh, in America, it's way cheaper. And if you get an equity, it's cheaper again. I mean, if you get an equity share, you can get it down to like 80-something. Sweden. I thought Sweden was expensive. That's interesting, because your prices there are similar to like the US. Also at North Weald, Jack Sims, I found out, if you join this thing called the Squadron, which is £80 a year, they waive all the landing fees and you can use all their facilities. And apparently they do a fantastic breakfast. But it means you can just go and do circuits and like not care about landing fees, which is rather nice. However, North Weald sits just inside the Stansted airspace by the look of it. If you go to the capital, it's 150 now. Blimey. You feel like if I flew a helicopter, I would crash it, Megafan? Well, I've flown a helicopter in a sim and managed not to die. Well, I've died a few times, but that's doing stupid stuff. When you flew at Wickham, they're inclusive of landing fees because they have their own field. Who's being rude, Centaur? Norway's between $150 and $200 an hour. Yeah, that sounds like similar to the UK, I guess. I would love to fly a helicopter, Zarak, but in all honesty, unless somebody else is going to pay for it, it's not going to happen. Because flying a helicopter, like even the lowest helicopter, you're looking at £400 an hour. It's an expensive machine. When you pay $180 an hour for a 152, dude, that's insane for a 152. That's actually insane. Jack Sims at North Weald, they do 150s and 152s. You can buy like packages with them to get it down to 100 an hour. Oh, right. You're joking, Megaphone. Gotcha. You're going on a Puma or Chinook? Oh, nice. I would love to go on a Chinook helicopter. I really would. I'm never going to get to fly an Apache, in an Apache at all. But if I could get a trip in a Chinook, or I could get a trip in an Airbus A400M, that would make my day. You've done all the you have all the theory exams next week for your PPLA. What, you're going to do all the exams in 1 week? Gloucester now 153 for 152, 168 for 172. That's more than I pay at Earl's Cone. You worked on an A400M. Oh, I love that plane. Join the US Army, you can fly Chinooks for free. Yeah. And basically sign your life away. So they tell you what to do and where you're going and where you're living. It does come with a price. It's just not a financial one. You're working on your LAPL, 4 exams done. Whew. You got a lot of work ahead of you. Chinooks are so loud. Yeah, but they're just amazing. Was that a sub bomb? Drone Flyer, was that? No, hang on. Not Drone Flyer. It's Smithers. Has gifted 5 subs. Thank you very, very much, It's Smithers. Yeah, Drone Flyer, Mojo the Evil, Sugar in the Morning, Nelly, is it? And Winbot, you've just been gifted a sub by It's Smithers. Please remember to thank him. Thank you so much. You've only got 51 hours before you can start your MEP. How many hours do you have to do before you can do that? $70 hours as pilot in command. Whew. Yeah. That's the thing, is like I need to basically really up my hours this year now. Little Jimmy, it's never going to happen that I will fly an AN225. It's just realistically never going to happen.
Welcome to the Nut House.
I've never seen that cutscene before. Right. 9 AM. Health is super low. I don't know if we can get rid of it. See, at the moment, I don't think we can get our health up. Good news, the devs managed to get the publishing rights for console, reporting the new endgame content to PC. To PC? It's also published to console soon. If you check the discussions, there's an update. Doesn't affect me, I'm on PC. Let's go and get in the shade a second.
Welcome back.
It's interesting, if you stand in the shade, the UV meter doesn't come down, does it? I'm not convinced I can get the health bar back up, you know.
Happy anniversary.
Befuddled! Welcome back. Thank you for 15 months, Befuddled Flip-Flop. Let's grab some stuff. Right, we need to seriously need to make some meds. And we need to make a better raft, because I'm not going to keep going around on this like rubbish raft that we have. However, I am worried about our health, because at 1 health bar, if we take like 1 hit off a snake or something like that, we're dead. And I don't think we can get the health back up because I think it's bugged. So the sleep bar never goes down, and because of that I can't rest, and because I can't rest I can't get the health bar up, so I have no idea if... Does anybody know how to work around that problem? I don't know why the shadows are flickering. No clue. Pretty much on maximum graphics. Shadows high. Ultra. Well, now we've got high resolution flickering shadows. You need the pippy plant. Why do we need the pippy plant, Bob? We're not actually... We don't have a status effect on us anymore. Need to grow some potatoes. Yeah, we got rid of the status effect, but it's just getting the health bar. Is there a med that we can use to bring our health up directly? Bandage, antidote, gauze. That'll deal with sunburn, I think. This one, I don't really know what that does. That's presumably the antidote. That's allow it to dive deeper. Shark repellent could be useful. A lionfish. To catch a lionfish first. Does Pippi regenerate your health? I don't know. Oh, does it, Bob? It could be bugged and you're still poisoned. Well, if I was, I'd be dead by now. Because that health bar's not dropping. Need to get food and water 1 bar to max. I tried it, Sniffer Dog. I think what we did was, in the last time I streamed it the other day, we got health and water to max, food and water to maximum, slept, and woke up and it hadn't moved, the health bar. And I think it might have something to do with the fact that it doesn't think we're tired. So, if I was tired, it would let me sleep for 6-8 hours. Whereas I think at the moment, it doesn't let me sleep very long. Well, I think the only way we're going to get out of it is if I actually die. I think if I die, then it'll reset my health bar. Scumbag. Sleeping in a tent. Whoa. See, if that bites me, I'll die. Do you know what? If I die, do I come back to where I last saved it? Like, where do you actually reappear when you die? I might try something. If you keep your other stats above 70%, the health should slowly increase. Works for you. Come back at last save. That and that. Potatoes. I think I put some potatoes somewhere. We have 1 pippy plant. That and that. Try something then. If we save that, and then go and run over a crab and die. You see how the watch is still beeping? I don't know if it's beeping to say your health is low, or is it beeping to say you're getting burned? Or is it beeping to say you're still poisoned, but I'm not showing you that? I don't know. You're beeping, that's bad. Also, if you die, you don't get full health. You just go back to the last save point. Right, so the beeping's just because the health's low. Where's that crab gone? Crab's disappeared. Don't think you get enough sticks off that, to be fair. That's the weird... That looks like a balloon. I think you already had a look at this. Okay. Failed balloon animal. There's a little shipwreck out here. Let's go have a quick look at that. It's actually two, so there's something going on over there. Nothing going on. The beeping indicates when you're dead. It's because you slept while you didn't heal. Fill your bars up and don't sleep. Okay, we'll try that. We shall try that. So if we grab some cooked meat. Thank you. Right. Food. Food. Yeah, I'm gonna have to head back soon, I think. Okay. Yeah, we're completely out of food and drink now. We're almost on full bars, but not quite. I don't think I've got any more water. Grab a coconut, I guess. Is that close enough to heal, you think? it's the maximum drink we can have out of that. Right, we've got full bars now. So we get on. Just loading up for a trip back. There you go, it's coming back. We have 2 bars. What? The heck, man? What on earth? Are you utter scumbag game? It put me, like, glitched me into something, and when I tried to get down, it just dropped me on the ground and then lost the health that I just gained. Like, thanks, game. You tried last week on that tree. You know what, Bob? I'm just going to chop it down, mate. We need the wood anyway. We're trying to build a raft. No, we didn't die. It just glitched me on a tree and lost a health bar, which I can ill afford to lose. Oh, it's doing it again. I can't get down. Oh my god. I need to work on that. Right, I got 4 coconuts. I remember tree climbing being a pain, yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, we've got a raft back at the base, but the problem is I can't remember how we get back to the base. Can anybody remember which way the base was? I don't think it's that way. I've got a feeling it's that way, southeast. I've got a feeling that might be it, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, thanks, Hannah. I doubt it's southwest. That would require... I don't know. If anybody remembers last week. Bob's on side of me. He thinks it's that way. We've got 3 bars of health now. Yeah, I have. Feel like it. Southwest one was the middle island which we went. Right, let's start. Basically load up stuff. We've got... Let's... I'm sure we've got this stuff somewhere else. Such a weird interface. Anyway, we've got 4 of them. Space for 2 slots in that one. Problem is it's... We need to start growing our own stuff. There's so many things that we could make, but I think the raft is the main thing to focus on. Vehicles. So we can make a driftwood floor. So if we take loads of sticks back, we could make a floor out of that. Two plank and 2 scrap. We have 4 scrap metal, so that's 1 floor. That's weird, Pringle. We've got 5 bars of health. This is awesome. We need these for the water supply.
Happy anniversary, Meta.
Gotta sort out the basics before building yachts. I hate travelling on this dinghy though. Like, really hate travelling on this dinghy. What would you say the basics? NXN, thank you for 32. Food, water, and shelter. We have the water and the shelter and back at base. We just don't have the food supply on the go yet. In there. Do you do the raft off the life raft? It's slow. Yeah, exactly. And not only that, it makes you feel seasick. Oh, scrap metal in here. That's what we could do. So one advantage the raft does have. Has a little bit of extra storage. Wooden farming plot. We need to make more water stills. Horn frond, cloth, rocks. I should have kept the rocks instead of turning them all into stone tools. Because we're going to need more water to water the plants. In fact, I think we'll get more coconuts because we'll use them as water storage as well. You know, considering it's nighttime, the visibility is really high. I wonder how long it'll be before that crab actually went off. Got a decent haul here.
Happy anniversary. Matter.
Just need to get back with it. You hope you improve the swimming physics. The swimming physics aren't so bad. It's when you're climbing over stuff that's a bit annoying.